Hello everyone and welcome back to the Little Quilter. Today we're going to be working on month 2, the second part of the Pas De Deux quilt. And this part of the quilt is actually going to be this beautiful blue center right here. And that is going to be the evening star block. And so with this block we wanted to do a light blue and a dark blue color pattern here. And so I did have a bit of trouble with this, all right? My end up choices for this, my goal was to not use any that had a lot of white in the background because we've already done a blue one. And in that blue one, we did have some white in there, which gave it that beautiful color with the half square triangles. But I didn't want to have a repeat of that because I did have to pull some of the same blue fabric for that. So this is, I did end up using some of this because I didn't have enough blue only fabric. And so this was my compromise, this striped fabric, and then this was the other compromise, which is this blue dotted fabric. But that is really the most white that is in there. So those may pop a little bit more. And then the other color of blue was just all of the really dark blue. And there are some that we have not used. Now, I think there are a couple other sections that have blue in this quilt, and so I might end up having to buy a few more blue scrap fabrics from Edyta or decide if I want to change that color tone, just because honestly a lot of my fabrics are starting to have like this much left. So it depends. I'll have to look ahead and see how much more fabric I'm actually going to need for the rest of the quilt if we use the blue. So now that we've got that, I will say this, if you want to make this block or you want to make this quilt by Rachel Hauser, then I've got a link to it down below. It's the Pas De Deux quilt. But to do this, you have to have her Morning Star template. And so I've got this template. I'm going to cut it out and we're going to get to working on it. Okay, everybody, we have got all of these sewn, and I don't know if I have done the lining the right way. So it is so that the adhesive part is going to be on the outside. So when we flip it around, it should stick to this part, I think. No, it should stick. See, this is why I keep getting confused. So it is so that whenever I flip it around, the adhesive part will be on the outside, and so it won't stick together like it did on my last applique. But this time around, I'm wondering if that was the wrong decision. So I don't know, I guess we'll see. But now I've got to cut all of these little pieces out, flip them inside out, and then on to the next part for this quilt block. Okay, so I have finished all of the circles and I'm pretty happy with actually how circular they turned out. I think these are better than the last time that I did it, and I think sewing right on that line, as difficult as it was to see with some of this fabric and looking through this to follow that line, I think that that worked way, way, way better. Now, I will say this, I think I should have done what I did last time and had my sticky part actually stick to the back side of my fabric. So this is actually, once I cut it, it will attach. So they're gonna attach down to these pieces. So they'll like, I can glue, I can iron them on and they will be stuck there and not move. So once I'm set with it, but I cannot press them until I'm ready to iron them on. So there is no pressing these edge seams down until we're ready to go. So if I had to do it again, I would probably actually do it the other way, and then I would just pin the pieces to the actual fabric so that I could then cut that. So just a note, if you guys do this, that's the way I would do. So that would be your bumpy side, which has the glue actually facing on the inside of the fabric. So right sides together when you're tracing them. Okay, we're gonna jump into cutting these and getting them sewn on. Okay, now that we've got all of our pieces cut here, we're gonna take these fabrics and we're gonna make our block. And I've switched over to my ironing pad because I'm gonna be able to just iron these pieces directly on there. And so just kind of looking at this, I really like this little bird. I personally kind of want the bird to go in that upright direction. I know some people would probably think that's silly, but I do. I'm going to try and not be too super picky about it, but I have a lot of this type fabric just because of the nature of the amount of blues that I had available. And so I am going to have to use that a little bit more than I might in other cases. And I'm probably just going to do this one at a time, just so I don't inadvertently press something somewhere I'm not supposed to. Alright, so there's one. And then we know that's going to touch. So we're going to do this. I really love the beautiful, so we'll have a little bit of a wrinkle there. I really love this fabric and all of the little intricacies and details, but I've had a hard time of cutting it because I felt like every time, I think this went over here actually, every time I cut it, I feel like I'm cutting off a piece of something that's so pretty that I'm losing something. Like, one of the little bugs always gets cut in half, or the flower does, or we cut a bird off. But I'm really happy with how this turned out, that I get to save that little piece. And I think, this is a really neat way of doing this block. And I don't know, originally I had thought it would be easier to have had the sticky part, so that it would glue down like I had on my other applique, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe this is actually a good way of doing this, because I know they're sitting right where I want them to sit. They're not going to move. When I go to sew them, they're not going to move. And honestly, I don't even have to cut any fabric away. So yeah, I actually think it turned out okay doing it that way. One last little press, and there is that block done. Just quickly cut this little, there's a little piece hanging off here. There we go. I'll get rid of that. All right, so there's that first block done. A few more to go. Okay, so these came together actually pretty cool. I'm still going to go through and sew around the edges of each of these blocks just to make sure that it's really set down there. We don't have any wiggling as we go. But I am very glad that I did in fact do the sticky heat and bond the way that I did. So I'm happy that I was able to then use it to iron and press on there, and that gave me this nice set piece. Nothing's moving, nothing's wiggling about, and I feel good about it. So I think the blocks turned out really cool. I'm really excited to see how they come together, so I'm going to keep working on that. Okay, so that is all of these finished now where I have appliqued them on. So now I can actually pull this top piece up that is sewed on there and cut off this back piece that has the fusible interfacing on it. And what I will end up with, although it's quite a bit of fussy cutting, is actually one layer of fabric, just like I had actually pieced all of this without sort of cheating like I did. And it will help whenever I go to sew these all together. That one layer of fabric is gonna make it a lot nicer, and you'll have the seams not be as bulky as they would with basically 4 layers of fabric on there, okay? So yeah, that's pretty exciting. And I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna be able to lay it out and piece this block together. Okay, everybody, I have finished it. Now, this block we're actually not completely putting together, so you're just leaving it in the strips. So I can show you what the strips turned out to look like, and honestly, I'm pretty happy with them. I was a little iffy on the sort of dot fabric that you can see there in the stripe fabric, just because I was really wanting something that really didn't have any white in it, but I think they blend in really nicely and give it a little bit more texture, so I am happy with those. And then I'll show you this group right here. So I think it worked out really well, and I think the spread of it as well is nice. Nothing, you know, too close to each other. Some patterns are sitting next to each other, but nothing is too overwhelming, and I'm so happy with this block. I think this block was so cool, and just how it ended up coming together is just so super cool. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. So as always, I hope that you guys are enjoying this, the Pas De Deux Quilt by Rachel Hauser. If you are interested in doing this quilt or looking at it or knowing the pattern, everything's linked down below. If you have any questions, let me know. Any comments, let me know. And as always, hope to give a like, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps the channel grow and reach more people, as everyone else on YouTube says. So otherwise, have a wonderful day. Have a great day quilting. Thanks.